Well, welcome everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jose. I'm one of the directors here at Default Investor Association. I want to thank everyone that's here and everyone that's on the web. Welcome to our first of the 3 events that we're having for the final judgment training event. For those of you that have been with us and have taken our previous classes, we've had a lot of success in the surplus and the trustee class. There's a lot of folks here that have a lot of success. But first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to my girl Patricia Crum for bringing in one of the orders for a surplus in the amount of $35,000. So please, a big round of applause. Just to give everyone a quick update, the training center has been a success. We're very happy with the attendance. A lot of folks have been bringing in a lot of deals. I want to give a shout out also to Dimitri and Dwayne. If you guys could please stand up. Stand up. Yes. Big round of applause. Okay. These guys brought in over $100,000 in surplus on 2 deals, so that deserves a merit. Another quick shout out to Javier. Javier also had a bumpy start. I mean, we made calls, we reached out to a lot of people, and unfortunately, we had some people that said they were going to show up. They didn't, but you kept at it. You were persistent, and it's a funny story because he brought in a seasoned realtor, and when she sat in the office, she looked at us and said, "Hey, you guys are lucky." We're like, "Why? We're not lucky. We're professionals." She goes, "No, I've been a broker for I don't know how many years and everyone's been calling me, but when Javier called me and spoke to me, I knew I was talking to the right person." So kudos to him as well. And last but not least, Hyman Siviak. Hyman is a true champion at the business. He came in and sat down with me for an hour. We gave him a couple deals, and within an hour, he closed a $15,000 surplus. So good for you. We just need to see you here at the center. And if I've missed anybody, please forgive me. Anyway, we have some exciting things coming on. And for those of you that have been around, you know that the first 3 classes, the trustee, tax deeds, and surplus recovery, were just the intro to big things that are coming. Final judgment, folks, is huge. And the way that we set up the classes chronologically was because we wanted to scale everyone up to what is coming now in the future. And we're very happy for those of you that have taken advantage of our courses. You got your feet wet in the process. What's coming down the pike is amazing. We know you're going to love it. So without any further ado, I want to introduce to you guys my mentor, Mr. Rich Meyer.
Thank you all very much. Yeah, like Jose said, final judgments is something that's been in my blood for a lot of years. And we're going to talk about it tonight. I'll take all your questions. We have plenty of time. Okay, so what are we talking about tonight? Create passive income streams with final judgments. You guys can't see it, but I've got about $2 grand running behind me all the time. It comes in checks. My assistant goes to the post office box, brings in the checks. I don't even have to look at them no more. She processes them, they go right into my bank account. And like I was telling Sherry before we started, the reason I'm getting those checks is not because I have to do anything. It's because of what I did one time to one person, and they're so afraid and they respect what I did to them that they will not allow me to do it again. And the only way they can keep me from doing it again is by writing me a check of $100, $200 every month. So it's a great system. And well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'll tell you why in a minute. There are literally thousands of final judgments entered each month throughout the state of Florida. Thousands each month throughout the state, which is a huge number. And the way I teach this business is how to find judgments that will pay you. And I'll get into that in just a minute because you guys have all seen, I buy real estate for cash signs, like there's 9 on every corner. Down in Miami, there used to be, at least back in the day, says, "I'll buy your final judgment from you." That's not the way to collect final judgments to work. Because in that case, you're just working it haphazardly and you get whatever you get. The way I teach it is you go out and get what you want. The difference is collectability. And I will teach you how to figure out if you can collect it or not, and then you'll be able to apply it, and you won't ever have a judgment in your portfolio that's not collectible, ever. And that's so great, man, when you spend time doing this. Here we go. Some are more collectible than others. What collectible means is that they have assets that you can attach. In Florida, there are a lot of exemptions or defenses that a defendant can pose back to you if you try to do stuff to them. For example, head of household is a big one. If you're the head of household, it's difficult to have your wages garnished. It's also difficult to attach your bank account without too much trouble. There are ways to do it, but the way I'm going to teach you is that we're going to figure this thing out backwards. We're going to figure out where the asset is and then contact the plaintiff. And the cool thing about this is there's no competition. Those of you that are working surplus, you realize there's competition out there.
Oh yeah.
A little competition. And with a little bit of effort, you can overcome it. However, in this business, there's no competition because nobody knows how to collect judgments in Florida. They just don't know how to do it. And we'll get into that a little bit more tonight. Same to you guys on the web. I don't want to. What are final judgments and how are they created? If you heard my last week's webinar, I came up with an example where I loaned Jose $5,000 and he didn't pay me back. So in order to collect it, I'd call him up, Jose, pay me, and go, yeah, I'll pay you. So I ended up going to court and get a judgment against Jose. Now I have something I could use. So a judgment is created when there's a most of the time, financial dispute. That's what we're going to be dealing with. Somebody buys something with their credit card, they loan money to people like Jose and they didn't get paid back. So that's the way they're created. Now, just so you know, my model, the way I teach judgment collection is that I do not collect judgments against auto deficiencies. An auto deficiency is when if I borrowed $5,000 against my car, I had it repossessed and they sold it for $2,000, they're going to get a judgment against me for $3,000, an auto deficiency, what I owe on that loan after they repossessed it. And I don't collect auto deficiencies because people don't want to lose their cars. Something happened in their life, I'm not going to kick them when they're down, so I'm not going to do that kind of work. Same with medical. I don't do medical collections because people don't choose to get sick. But what I will do is if Rich loaned money to Jose and got a judgment against him, I'm going to approach Rich and say, listen, I can collect your judgment for you. He's the kind of guy that I'm going to work with. I'll also work with credit card assignments, some credit card debt, because in my mind, people use a credit card to buy goods or services and they got the benefit of the use of what they charge on that card. I don't feel bad about them. I pay my credit card every month. You can't. If you're going to not do it, then you run a chance that you're going to run into guys like me or like Jim Frone. I know he's on the call. Hey, Jim. Okay, because Jim is a judgment guy. Okay, how can you make money collecting judgments? You need to get assignment of the judgment. And it's not assignment like it is in surplus. And I'll explain the differences in just a minute. But you have to ask owners of judgments to contact you. How in the hell are you going to do that? Put out little bandit signs saying if you own a judgment, sell it to me? Right? That's one way of doing it, but that's not the way I advocate that you do it because that's too much work. Who wants to go around peddling on signs and having somebody call you and you don't have nothing to know, you don't know anything about that judgment yet, which is in the beginning you don't know much about any of them, but you don't know if there's any assets out there. I'm going to teach it ass backwards. I'm going to teach it the other way around. So you don't have to ask plaintiffs to contact you. You're going to find judgments that you want to work on because you know where the assets are, and then you're going to contact the plaintiff. And the pitch is powerful. We'll talk about that at the end. Contact the owners of plaintiffs and judgments. That's the way I teach you to do it. Now, does everybody understand that every single judgment that's ever entered by order of a court is recorded? Every single one is recorded. So where do you think I'm going to send you to look for these judgments? Public records. Everybody knows how to use the public records, right? Now, you go in, you enter final judgments, you'll get reams and reams and reams of people and names. We have to figure out a better way, and I promise you that I will teach you that. That you will only be working on judgments that you want to work on and that have assets attached to them. And unfortunately, or fortunately, any way you look at it, Florida is known as a debtor state. It's very difficult to collect judgments in Florida. So that lesson is twofold. One, if you learn how to collect here, you can go anywhere and just kick the crap out of them. Anywhere in the nation I'm talking about. Okay? And number two, if you can collect here, you can collect anywhere. And there's no competition because nobody knows how to do it. Nobody spends any time learning how to do this business. And it's because they're out there fishing for judgments. They're looking for judgments. You don't want anybody to call you with a judgment to collect. You want to be able to identify the plaintiff who has an asset you can attach, and you can start making some money because you only get paid if you collect something. But the key is here, you're not out of pocket a cent, not a penny. We're going to do an agreement for fees, generally about a third, and we're going to do an assignment. The reason we have to do an assignment is because in order for us to collect these things on our own, we have to be the owner of the debt. So we'll take ownership of the debt by an assignment. Our agreement will suggest that we'll reassign it back to them in a year or 24 months or whatever our time period is going to be. Because you have to take ownership of the judgment so you cannot be accused of an unauthorized practice of law. Nobody wants to go in front of them guys. I did that once too by accident, but that's okay. That's a story for another day. Okay, what collection activities are allowed in Florida? A judicial execution. What that means is we're going to do that under the guise of the court. So the court is going to direct us what to do based on the law. So one of the things you can do is you can hold a deposition in aid of execution. You yourself cannot depose anybody. You have to get an attorney to ask the questions. However, you can prepare a subpoena and have it issued by the clerk of the court. Where an attorney is going to, if they're going to do a subpoena in aid of execution, they can issue the subpoena themselves. They can sign it and send it out for service. So these are some little things that I'll teach you as you get farther into it. Right now, it's not really that important that you know that. But a deposition in aid of execution is some time where you depose Jose, who owes Rich $5,000. The attorney deposes him and asks Jose questions about where his assets are. Now, I know if I was ever deposed in aid of execution, I'm probably going to be a little bit closer to a story than I am going to be to the truth. Because I don't want to tell the guy where my stuff is. However, if I end up having a little bit of guilty moment for a second, and I tell him, okay, I bank at Wells Fargo, what's the first place I'm going to go after my deposition is over? Going to Wells Fargo to move my money. I have that too. But yeah, you're going to move your money to another bank. I'm not going to let you do a guard. I'm not going to be an idiot. So, but this is the way lawyers were taught how to collect judgments, is to ask questions. They're good at that, but at the same token, if your answers aren't accurate or if I'm going to change the location of my money, there's nothing you can do. Garnishment's one of my favorites. A garnishment costs you $188 to fund it. So you have to go to the clerk, pay a $188, have a motion and an order, and they'll issue the writ of garnishment right at the counter. And then that gets trotted to the bank by a process server, and boom, you garnish their bank account. All their money is frozen, and the bank is authorized to withhold up to 3 times the amount in your writ. So if Jose owes me $5,000, the body of my writ says $5,000, the bank's going to hold $15,000. Now, in a perfect world, he has all that money in there. Now, I'm not entitled to all the $15,000, but the way the law is described is written is that me as the garnishee, garnisher, the garnishee is the one who receives the writ, garnisher, I'm entitled to have my attorney's fees and costs and other interest paid. So the amount of my judgment is $5,000, but if it's 5 years old, I got interest that's on top of that. But in my writ, I only use the principal amount. So I'm entitled to more money. That's why the bank holds more money for me. That was pretty fast and it was pretty detailed. But believe me, if you can get a writ of a garnishment served on a bank where Jose has money, you're going to lock it up. And he's going to come crying to you eventually. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. Continuing writ of garnishment for wages. There's only one writ that's continuing, and that's for wages. You can't get a continuing writ on the bank account, only on wages. The way the writ is issued is a little more complicated because it's very dangerous when you fool with somebody's livelihood. The way a writ of garnishment for wages is issued is that an attorney has to have an order from the court. In other words, the judge has got to authorize it, and they'll authorize an order instructing the clerk to issue the writ. Unlike bank garnishments, if you remember, you go to the clerk yourself and they'll issue it right to you. So it's the same cost, $188 plus $50 service. I just say $225, $250. So that's another way you can collect the judgment, by finding out where somebody works and garnishing their wages. But there are a lot of defenses to that, so I've done 50, 60 wage garnishments, and they all work out okay, but out of the 60 or so, I might have been successful on 40. Not a lot, it's not good odds. And I think if you guys, did anybody listen to my webinar last week? No? Okay. It's okay, none of you, I had other people on the call. But, oh, you did? Oh, good. But one of the things I talked about there was, I like bank garnishments better than continuing for wages. And the reason is because it's very easy for a defendant to allege that they're head of household. All they have to do is fill out an affidavit. The clerk makes it available for them. Fill out the affidavit. And once that affidavit is executed, it's up to me as the plaintiff to prove in 3 days that this guy's not head of household. It's hard to prove a negative, number one. Number two, where do you begin to prove that the guy's not head of household? Because if he has a child under 18 living at his house, he's head of household. If he has an elder person like his parents, his grandparents, somebody that's older that needs care, that he's the primary provider for, he's head of household. The kid one is easy. You can prove he has a kid or you don't, but you can't prove he doesn't have a relative living there. And the penalty for being wrong is somewhat punitive. In other words, he'll get his attorney's fees paid. So not only do you have to pay your own attorney's fees, you have to pay his attorney's fees. And don't think that he's not going to be heavy with that pen when he knows that you're paying him. So it's going to hurt you. It's very simple for him to do that. But the worst part about it is that he thinks he beat you. And that's not a good thing to let him think that. Because he beat you. Your garnishment attached his wages. He waits a week, does all the work, the shenanigans with the court, blah, blah, blah. The writ gets dismissed, and now he's looking down his nose at you. You can't touch me. And that's not a good feeling for him to have when he's talking to you. You want him to think, I got to watch out for this guy. Which is why I like bank garnishments better. When you garnish a bank account, the writ gets served on a bank officer, piece of paper. The bank officer takes it and says, confirmed. And then what they do is they take a picture of the bank account. How much money's in the account now? X number of hundreds or thousands of dollars. Whatever it is, the bank will take it out of Jose's account and move it over here. Jose will not have access to it, neither do I. The bank holds it until the judge gives an order that says what happens to that money. In a perfect world, I garnish Jose's bank account and there's 40 grand in it. The bank holds 15. I don't have to negotiate with Jose. He calls me, he can call me any kind of words he wants, doesn't matter. I'm getting all my money plus all my interest. That's a successful bank garnishment. However, where the passive income comes from is right from here. And I'll tell you what happens. More often than not, I'm not going to get 15 grand out of his account. More often than not, he's going to have 1,500 bucks there. Now, is 1,500 bucks enough to satisfy my judgment? No. It's barely going to cover a little bit of profit and my attorney's fees and my costs for my writ. I'll get some money, but not a lot. So invariably, this will happen every time you garnish an account and you only get 1,500, 700, 950. The amount is not really relevant. What is relevant is that we got under Jose's skin. Because all his checks are bouncing now. He can't go, he's afraid to go to the bank. He doesn't want to deposit more money in because he doesn't know. If he deposits more money, it won't stick. But he doesn't want to, so his life is eventually shut down for a couple days. So eventually what's going to happen is he's going to call the attorney that prepared the writ, and the attorney's going to give him my phone number, and I'm going to call him. And he's going to call me every name in the book. Every name you could think of and some you haven't thought of yet. He's very angry with me. And then invariably he's going to say, I never had a judgment against me, I wasn't served. They all say that. That's like defendant handbook number 101. I wasn't served, I didn't get a judgment entered against me. That's what they said. But in order for a judgment to be entered, the judge looks and makes sure. That's the only thing they do. They look to make sure, okay, Jose Pena got served. Here's a process server that swears to it. You're served, dude. Nothing you can do about it. So that's what they're going to tell you. So invariably what I'll tell them at the same example. The judge signed off on it, Jose. If you got a problem with this, you got to bring it up with the judge. However, I am the only person that can dismiss this writ of garnishment against you. I'm the only person that can do it. So now his tone is going to change a little bit because my tone has never been angry. It's just been factual. But I will dismiss this writ, and here's what you have to do for it. Let's say I got $500, $1,500 in the account. I'm going to ask, I'll tell you what, Jose, agree to let me take $500 out of it and pay me $200 a month until the debt is settled. And while you're making me payments, Jose, and you're current, I won't let any interest accrue. So there's two benefits. One, he doesn't ever have to hear from me again. Two, his judgment isn't going up by the interest rate that was awarded by the judge. So, to synopsize, in an effort to get Jose to settle with me, I'm not going to take all of his money. I'm going to take $500 plus an agreement from him to pay me $200 a month. And that gets added to my income stream, my passive income stream. He never wants to talk to me again, trust me. He doesn't want to see my name on anything. And this is the way I'll tell him. I'll say, Jose, we don't ever have to run into each other ever again as long as you make these payments at $200. And Jose says, okay. Because let's face it, if this was a credit card debt he was dealing with, he would have talked to 15 different collection agencies. And collection agencies get paid on contingency. And they only get paid on what they collect right now. Because once you work the file and make contact with the defendant, if you don't get any money, that file gets pulled from you and goes to somebody else. So he's been dealing with people that only want to hear about payment in full right now. That's what they say. And here comes another guy. I got his life tied up for a couple days. I don't want all the money, Jose. I want you to be able to live after we're done with this transaction. Pay me $500 now and give me $200 a month. And I get the agreement ratified by the court so I can go in and show the judge signs off. This is for later things, and I'll tell you about that later. But the point is, now I got $200 a month. That's file number 1, done. Now I do it again to Norman. I do it to you, and I'm going to have fun doing it to you. I'll do it to Carol. But that's the point is that you can find judgments where the defendant has assets, and you can do this 10 or 15 times a month without breaking a sweat. All it's going to take is serving the writ, having the bank answer, and then having Jose call you. And if he doesn't call you, you call him. Jose, this is Rich. I can get that writ dissolved for you because that's all he wants to hear. I can get the writ dissolved for you, and I can get you some money back out of your bank account. And essentially, I'll give you back your life. And this is what it's going to cost. Most people will go ahead and say, $500 good. I can't do 200. Will you do 100? I'll have to let you know. You really want to let this thing go away? Because if I can't settle it, I've got to continue with the writ and take all your money. Yeah, I'm willing to take the chance. Okay, fine. I hang up and call him back next day. Okay, we'll take 100. That's all I want is the $100. Pay me $100 a month until my $5,000 is paid off. And if I do that 10 times a month, by the third month, I'm going to have $3,000 every month coming in. 10 times a month for 3 months. Now you get 10 grand coming in. 5 grand, 3 grand, 3 grand. Sorry. So it grows exponentially. And the only time you lose is when Jose stops paying. Then you just figure out where he banks again. And one of the things I'm going to teach in my class is how to find where people bank without them knowing about it. And I'll tell you a quick story about that. I came up with this idea 25 years ago. I was working for Basin & Kaplan. They were a collection agency, attorneys on 17th Street Causeway on Davie Boulevard. Davie Boulevard and Federal, sorry. And they made me the supervisor for final judge for judgment collection. It was fun, yay, my first big job, yeah, it was fun. But they were struggling with trying to find out where bank accounts come from because they would set Patricia down for a deposition, she'd tell them, and they'd move the account, and they'd go, Then you have to tell the client, look, it's going to cost you $500 attorney's fees plus $188 plus service, and we still didn't get you any money because that's what it costs to do it. So what I did is I figured out I had to come up with a way to find out where people bank. So I did. And I used it at that company, and I charged them money for it because I did it under a separate company. They all agreed, that's okay. If you could find out where people bank for $50, we'll pay your company. Okay. So I made extra money. It was fun. Then I put an ad in the Broward Review, and I said I'm willing to sell my bank locator system to anybody that wants to buy it. Now, I don't want you to be disappointed because I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I want to tell you the rest of the story. So I had a guy from Chicago call me up. Rich, I want out service. Yeah. I said, okay, it's 15 grand. You got to put the 15 grand in my attorney's trust account, and then we'll meet at my attorney's office, and I will show you the system. I'll show you exactly what I do, and I'll show you all the backups, so you'll agree that it works. He says, okay. Flies down to Chicago, from Chicago, he comes to my attorney's office, and he's got one assistant on either side, and I'm sitting across the table from him, and I know what it is. You don't know what it is yet. I'm not telling you tonight. And I told my attorney, I said, Larry Forno, those of you know Larry? I said, Larry, this guy is going to come unglued when he finds this out, because it's so easy. He brings his two assistants down. He's sitting across the table. I took an envelope, slid it across the table. He opened it up and wanted to kill me because the secret was in the envelope. He wanted to kill me. He's going, why didn't I think of this? I said, dude, I don't know. You're paying me. I got the money. Your check is cleared. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's me. I'm on the way out the door. But on Saturday, on the 24th, I will tell you what I charged that guy 15 grand for, and 2 other guys 5, but that's another story, for the same thing. And like him, you will go, oh, why didn't I think of that? But it works. And I'll teach you on Saturday, that's when it's going to come into play. But anyways, I like bank garnishments because it opens the door for discussion, negotiation. And those of you that are not good at delivering bad news, you probably need to look at your mirror and try to deliver it, learn how to deliver it, because you're going to talk to Jose, you just garnished his bank account. Other than a, God forbid, a death in his family, there's nothing worse than to tell him, listen, I'm the guy that took all your money. But if you handle it with the amount of respect that's due to the person that owes the money, you're not going to make fun of them. But the fact is, I always open my conversation with Jose. I'm the only person that can dissolve that writ, and we can do it right now between you and I. We don't need lawyers. We can talk about it right here, right now. And it's great. And when you get trained in final judgments, I'm not going to suggest that this is something you're going to be able to do on your first phone call. You come in here and let me talk to the defendant. Let me talk to him, and we'll square it away, and I'll work the same deals with them as I work with the little Jose's of the world. So it's only a method. Well, come on. It's only a method. This way I know I'm not going to forget his name, because I know it's
just for the record, I bank at Swiss Bank.
Oh, Swiss Bank, yeah. Yeah, that's a problem. Okay, so it's only a method to get some communication going, because I want to build my passive income, and I can only do it if I get him to voluntarily pay. Because if he's voluntarily paying, I'll never have to hear from him again. The checks just keep coming. He won't miss, because he'll think that, ooh, he's looking, he's got my check missed, I'm going to go right after his account again. And if he's still there, it probably will. I want him to know I'm serious. I tied up all this money. So it works. It works. But a lot of attorneys don't employ it because, first of all, most attorneys don't take collections. They take it on a contingency, and they don't know how to collect garnishments. They don't know how to get the information, except for this one guy in Chicago that now does. Other one-time writs of garnishment, bank accounts, commissions, other one-time assets. And I love when I'm able to garnish a real estate agent. Because real estate agent, you know how they wait for a closing? Yeah, we have a closing, yeah. Now the thing with one-time writs that you have to understand is that you have to get the writ in the possession of the person that's holding the asset. And in a bank garnishment, the asset is because it's demand account. The bank is holding the money for demand of the person that owns it. So that money that's in that account is owed to the person that's opened the account, and the writ gets there, the bank takes a picture, and that's how much money you get. When you're garnishing a broker, you have to be a little bit more careful, because the writ has got to get to the person that has the asset when the money is due but not yet paid. And those of you with any kind of legal background, you can see how ambiguous those words are. When it's due but not yet paid. Is the check clear? Do I always write checks on Fridays? I don't pay until so there's all kind of problems with that. But once again, if you serve a writ of garnishment on Sherry Broker because of money that she's going to owe Patricia, don't think that entire office is not going to be made aware of that. In a minute, did you know there's a writ of garnishment on Patricia's commission from the Smith deal? Oh my God. And you don't know what to do. You got to hire a lawyer. In a perfect world, you call me up. Say, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Do I have to hire a lawyer? I'm going to say, Sherry Broker, thank you very much for calling. If you can put Patricia on the phone, I can't talk to you about this, but if you can put Patricia on the phone, I might be able to put it all to bed right now for you. And if she's belligerent, I'll just come unglued and say, call a lawyer, because I want all the money that was due that deal. But if not, let's work something out, Patricia, because she knows how close I am. She knows I'm smelling what she's doing, because that's all this is about, is putting pressure on people that know they owe the debt, but they're having to look under rocks for their whole life because they never know when it's going to come out. Now you think if I garnish her a commission, even if I'm unsuccessful, she's going to start looking everywhere. She's going to be paranoid. Because even if I'm unsuccessful, as long as I can get her to start negotiating with me, that builds my passive income on the back. Because she doesn't want this happening again. And now I know what you're thinking. What happens if the people have absolutely nothing? They live in a house. The judgment is against just Hyman, not Hyman and his wife. So I can attach his house. It's his homestead. My judgment's not going to stick to his homestead. I can't find his bank. I can't find his car. No, he leases his car, better yet. Now what do? Now I'm going to set out to, I'm going to try to embarrass you a little bit. I'm going to put a little pressure on you by, this is my favorite, one of my favorite tactics. Hyman lives there. This house is vacant. Carol lives there, Francisco, everybody lives. These are all his neighbors. These are Hyman's neighbors. I'm going to send third-party subpoenas to all the neighbors and ask them if they owe Hyman any money. Because if they do, I can attach it. Now, do you owe any money to your neighbors? No, neither do I. But when I'm doing this is I'm trying to get him to pay attention to me. I can't find any assets, but all your neighbors are going to know that I'm chasing your ass. Okay? So now you're walking down the street and you think people are looking funny at you because they are. Now the cool thing about third-party subpoenas is I'm not going to get any response from the neighbors. They're not going to owe them any money. But when you send out a third-party subpoena, you must first notice the defendant. So I'm going to have to send Hyman a notice. And it's going to be, every single one of them subpoenas is going to be in that envelope. It's going to be a thick one. And it's going to tell Hyman, and he's going to tell his wife, do you know that this jerk is sending a subpoena to all our neighbors to see if I owe him any money? Hello, Hyman, let's settle with this, baby. You don't want me to do that? You have time. Let's talk about it. That's what it's designed to do, just to get your attention to negotiate with me. Oh, well. Okay. So that's my Hyman story. Don't get a judgment against you, Hyman. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to try to behave myself. Thank you. Now I want to tell you something. Judicial gets rewarded. Judicial gets rewarded is very important. I'm going to tell you why, but I have to tell you after the next slide. I just want you to remember that judicial, which is what we're doing, judicial execution, gets rewarded. What collection activities are allowed in Florida? Sheriff execution. Okay, so what's going to happen is once I get my judgment, I'm going to take a piece of paper that's called a writ of execution. I'm going to bring it to the clerk. The clerk is going to stamp it, seal it, all this stuff, and I'm going to send a copy of this along with 12, 15, 20 bucks, whatever it is, to the Secretary of State. So I'm going to docket my writ of execution. When I docket my writ of execution, if Jose has 7 other judgments against him, and those plaintiffs all filed writs of execution with the Secretary of State, he has 7 other judgments ahead of me. I'm number 8. No good. I'm number 8. So now, if I levy on a piece of real estate that he has, I'm the 8th person in line to get paid. What are the chances of that? None. None. If I levy on his automobile, which I can do, I'm the 8th person to get paid. And that's no fun. So I have some remedies for that. But more importantly, what I wanted to draw attention to is that if you do a judicial execution, if you garnish a bank account, if you garnish wages, if you do a one-time writ on commissions, you don't have to worry about all the other 7 judgments. Because you excelled in collecting this thing, and your ability to get it done through the courts rewards you by not having to pay anybody else. So if I'm number 8 on the docket sheet, I get paid because I did the writ. Not with levies, not with sheriff stuff. So that's just another thing that you don't want to do with sheriffs. However, follow me here in this one. When I go ahead and I levy on Jose's car, this is what's going to happen. I'll get my cost deposit, everything to the sheriff, and each county has its own separate share of fiery hoops you have to jump through. Once you jump through them, you give them the cost deposit, they go to Jose's car with a tow truck. Sheriff's deputy stands there, the tow truck racks it up, Jose comes running out of his house. Wait! Why are you going in my car? Well, we're taking it because of this judgment. I don't have a judgment against me, I was never served. They use that excuse every single time. But the sheriff don't want to hear it. He hears every excuse in the book. So what will happen is the sheriff will say, Jose, can you write me a check for $5,000 plus cost and interest, whatever they are? He'll say, no, I haven't got that kind of money. I think I can come up with 2. The sheriff will go, okay, hold on. And he'll get me on the phone. Sheriff will get me on the phone. Mr. Meyer, Jose wants to talk to you. Great. I was looking for this call. Jose, I can have your car put right down right now if you and I can make an agreement right in front of the sheriff. You think you can do that? Yes. Okay, your judgment is $5,000, umpty dump. How much can you give me now, just to put it down? Can I get $3,000 out of you? No, I only have 2. Jose, I got to have 2,500. No, I only have 2. Okay, I believe him now. Okay, 2,000, because his car is rung up. It's sitting in the top of the tow truck. I can only come up with 2. Okay, fine. You're going to tell the sheriff that you're going to go get a cashier's check right now for $2,000. He's not going to wait very long. So you're going to have to go right to the bank, get the cashier's check, and then come back, give it to the sheriff, and you're also going to have to pay me $500 a month until we're paid off, because I want to be done with you, and you want to be done with me. Oh, I can't afford $500, $300? Okay, good. Tell the sheriff that you're going to pay me $300 a month, and you're going to come back with a check. Okay, I'm going to pay him $300 a month, I'm come back with a check. Yay, get me the officer's name, good. Jose gets the thing, drops off the check to the sheriff, everything's done. He puts the car down, he starts making payments. I'll go ahead and put it into writing that the officer heard him say this. I'll put the guy's name, I'll put his badge number, all this stuff. So he thinks it means something. They really don't. But he thinks it means something. I promised to make payments of $300 a month. I have to make it. Oh my God, he knows. Yeah, good. Pay me and we're done. So you will at times get a cash payment of $2 or $3 grand. But most of the time, if you enter this properly, thinking about that you just want to build your income stream, your passive income stream, because once you levy on his car, he never want to hear from you again. And you can imagine, right? Nobody wants to be bested, and unfortunately, babe, you were bested. I did my job better than you did your job. So I get paid, now we're done. And he'll keep paying me until he's done, and then he'll call, can I have a satisfaction of judgment? Sure, Jose, no problem. That was your last payment. I'll be happy to get it for you, but I'm not going to record it. You have to record it yourself. Okay, I don't have to. So the whole point of working judgments is just to communicate with the defendant and get them to agree to make you payments voluntarily. That's the whole thing. That's what this is designed to do. If you think you're going to get a $50,000 judgment and you're going to garnish an account and get 50 grand, forget it. You're not going to do it. Even if everything is perfect on its face, the other side's going to get a lawyer and you're not going to get 50 grand. So you got to take things for what they're worth. Just look to build your passive income stream by putting pressure on people to where they go, okay, I'll pay you. Even if you have to resort to a third party, it works. It works. So, okay, so these are some of the things you can levy on: real estate, automobile, furniture, safe deposit box. Let me go back to the car for a second. Let's say Jose can't come up with any money. The sheriff picks up the car and tows it away. He's going to be pissed. Can't pick up his kids, can't go shopping, doesn't have a car. Plus all this, can't go to work. Plus all the stuff that he had in his car is now at the tow yard. You know what? If you've ever had your car towed, it's a pain in the butt to get that stuff out of there. So in any event, he'll call me, we'll work it out. He's going to call me up and say, Rich, my car's worth $2,000 and I owe $9,000 on it. So what that means, if it goes to an auction, nobody's going to get any money. And I say, Jose, that's okay. I just want to put pressure on you to make the payments. If you want to lose your car for $100 a month, now I'm going to throw it out there. If you want to lose your car for $100 a month, go ahead. But you're still going to have to buy another one. You still have to get to work and go grocery shopping. For $100 a month, I can give you back your car, Jose. What do you say? And I'm the only one that can do it. You can't call anybody else and ask them to do this. No one else has the authority to do it but me. Now, would you like to rethink that? Okay. Good. Can I get 2 instead? So you get the idea. All I want to do is negotiate with you, because not having your car is worth something. All I have to do is figure out how much and get you to agree to pay me. That's it. It's just talking to people. Safe deposit box. Funny story. I did a bank garnishment, and the bank answered. They said they had X number of dollars in the account, but they did have a safe deposit box in the bank. First time ever. Me and my buddy, we get the sheriff through the writ, go down. They'll have to hire the driller for the lock, everything. We go down, we have cameras over there. Nothing. Dust. So the point of that story is, don't get excited because someone has a safe deposit box. Doesn't mean there's anything in it. That's a sad part about it, but it's the truth. It's the truth. Okay, furniture. Other tangible assets. You know, I was reading an article one day where a lawyer was so mad at a defendant, rather than doing the third-party subpoenas to everybody, he levied on the family dog. Because the judgment was in the name of the husband and the wife. The kids were under 18, they couldn't own anything. So he said to the court, the dog is an asset, I want it. So do you think the people settled before the kids came home from school? Where's my dog? Well, Daddy didn't pay a credit card debt, so you lost your dog. No, I'll pay. I'll pay. I'll pay. Same thing goes for horses, boats, planes. But here's a little trick. I'm probably giving away too much. I always do this.
I know, but you don't have to.
The first thing I'm going to teach you to do is find the asset. So here's what I want you to do. Go home tonight, find out where people who own airplanes are registered. So everybody that owns an airplane, the FAA's got to have their name somewhere. Then you take that list and run it in the public records in the county they live in and see if they have any judgments. Because if they do, you already know what you're attaching, man. Guys that have planes and boats, they're married to those things. Worse than married. So you want to go ahead and hurt somebody? Levy on his airplane. He'll come out of the woodwork. So I just gave you a little clue on how we're going to find our judgments. We're going to find the asset first, just like horse owners. You can find them somewhere. I don't know whether it's I don't know where you can find it, but you can find it. Anybody owns a horse, their name's got to be somewhere. Threaten to levy on that horse and watch how quick that judgment gets addressed. And that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to get it paid off. We're just trying to get it addressed. Let's move our concern to the front of your concerns. That's what I'm trying to do. So you can see how that works. Because everybody here, including myself, we all have spots of pressure. That if you put enough pressure on that spot, and it's not like you have to take a tank. I use my finger and it's bent. Here, I got to find that one spot on Hyman that it hurts when I stick my finger there, and he's going to go, I'll pay. Even me, I got a spot, but I'm not telling you where it is. But everybody's got one. Everybody's got one. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, here's my buddy Josh Thomas. This is a testimonial. I'll talk to him into giving me for this. I took Richard's final judgment training in Tampa in 2007. You believe I've been doing this since 2006, like this. His explanations and example were right on target. I'm an aggressive guy, and I like the fact that I know how to get money out of a stone. Well, almost. I didn't write this. He wrote this. Well, almost. I guess I'm saying that I've learned how to be a better picker of stones. My passive income stream has grown by $1,200 per month just in the past 90 days. Thanks, Rich. Because I don't teach you just to pick any judgment. Any idiot with a judgment, here, collect it for me, and I'll give you a third. Collect it. No, man. You got to have a judgment that you could collect on. Because you only get paid if you collect something. I don't want all these uncollectible judgments. I want the people that own horses and own planes and own boats and own cars. I want to know they have an asset that I can lock up and initiate a conversation with. That's what I want. I don't want just somebody idiot's judgment. There's plenty of those out there. Blank slide. Okay, let's see. Final judgment collection is generally vanilla ordinary and is regulated by the Florida statutes. What makes our system different? What makes our system different is that I'm not going to ask you to go put signs on the side of the street and have someone with a final judgment read it, get your number down in time, and call you and then make agreement with you. That's not what we're going to do. I'm going to teach you how to find judgments that you can collect. Hey, go make sure it's not one of our cars, although I don't know about theirs. Pardon. In any event, I'm going to teach you how to look.
White Toyota truck.
White Toyota truck, anybody? No? Okay, good. I'm going to teach you how to... No, yours is a big-ass Dodge. Anyways, I'm going to teach you how to find the judgments that you can make money on. And I don't work this as hard as I should, but now as I get back into it and I talk about it and I try to refresh myself with what we're going to be doing, I'll go home on a Sunday afternoon watching a baseball game and I'll pull up 10 or 15 judgments. I'll find them. And at the end of the ball game, I'll have 30, 35 that qualify. At the end of the day, I'll end up with 10. And out of the 10, I'll get agreements for 5. And I know I'm going to get paid because I know what I'm looking for. I'll teach you to do that. So that means every Sunday afternoon, you can sit on your couch, watch the ball game, scour the internet for what I'm going to teach you how to look for, and know that at the end of the day, you'll end up with 5 files. Whether they're paying you $100 a month, $200 a month, or you bang somebody good for 15 grand. Doesn't matter. You're going to get paid on it. The whole idea is that I will teach you how to get paid rather than become a judgment collector. Nobody wants to collect judgments. You want to collect the money and have them pay you voluntarily so you don't have to do anything. It's the definition of passive. Not a thing, just one time. Find that pressure spot and they'll pay you forever. Well, what the bank's like. Most judgment recovery models focus too much on seek final judgment to collect. My system teaches you to locate the asset of the judgment debtor first before making contact with the plaintiff. Identifying the asset and recognizing the opportunity to execute are the two most important skills you can develop. While most judgment collectors want many judgments to work, we prefer to work the judgments where we have the highest probability or odds for success. After all, we can only get paid after we recover the assets. You all understand the difference between collecting judgments that are uncollectible and just banging people because you know where their assets are. Getting them to talk to you about it and giving you $100 or $200 to make you go away forever. Imagine the difference in your presentation to the plaintiff having already located the assets in which to seize versus having none. So Norman is the plaintiff. He has a final judgment against Jose. Poor Jose, he's having a bad day. Norman has a judgment against Jose. I'm going to call him up. I'm going to call up Norman, not having any information about Jose, like normal judgment people do, and say, Jose, you have a judgment against Jose or Norman. I'd like to collect it for you. I'm going to charge you a third if you want to, and I'll put up the costs. Or if you want me to put up the cost, I'll charge you half. That's the pitch. Well, what are the probability of success, Norman says. I'll say, well, you know, I have to get into it. I have to find the assets. I'm not really sure yet. I'll let you know as soon as we get the agreement signed. Versus, I already know where he banks. Norman, I want to collect the judgment for you. Same pitch. A third if you front the cost, half if I front the cost. The costs are going to be anywhere from $188 for a garnishment and maybe $1,200, $1,500 for an auto levy. I know where he banks. I can garnish the account tomorrow. This judgment says it's been owed to you since 2012. I'll also get you all your interest, Norman. If this is something you're interested in, let me know and I'll send you an agreement. If not, say, let me, I don't care. I got plenty more to call. Now, Norman's going to go, if he's, oh, let me think about it. Sure, Norman, no problem. You're going to find it where he banks? Good luck. It only took me a year to find it, but that's okay. When you're ready, you call me. He'll call me in a week. Call me because I brought it right to the forefront of his consciousness. This guy owes me money since 2012. And then what's even better, I'll call him up and I'll say, so what did Jose do to you that you got a judgment against him? Oh, I lent the son of a bitch money and he told me he was going to invest it in a bank and the bank went on. I'm saying, oh man, that's too bad and I'll embellish that. Come on, let's get mad at Jose, that dumb Jose. That he ripped you off. I'll call you tomorrow. Is that okay? Yeah, call me tomorrow. But he's going to sign up because I brought it right to his consciousness. I started making him feel it again. And if any of you have judgments against people, you know how that makes you feel. And now he's going to call me up and we're going to do a deal. Yeah, exactly. Get him mad all over again, the same guy from the judgment that he got 5 years ago. So yeah, and it just, all it is talking to people.
And it works.
It works. And it's a little trick. I know that most of you wouldn't have thought of that, but I'll teach you how to do that. It's easy. It's just the way they work. Just make him mad again. What did he do to you? And people love to talk, you know that, so he'll answer me. He'll tell me. That guy did this and that. Oh, that's too bad. And what did your wife feel about that when you loan money to somebody and they didn't pay you back? Yeah, did I touch any nerves there? Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Yeah. Now, dude, how did your wife feel about that? Oh my God, now he's getting ready to commit Harry Carey again. So yeah.
He says to go on the couch.
Yeah, if he's lucky. So yeah, that's the whole idea behind this. I just want to find where he has pressure. And I'm putting a little pressure on the plaintiff now, asking him about his wife. But I'm just thinking, if he says, what's it your business? Well, I loaned money and my wife was mad when I lost it. I don't know about yours. Maybe yours is an angel. Oh, no, she's no angel, man. She made me sleep on the couch, like you said. So the point is that you can use that pressure not only on the defendant when you're garnishing his account, but the plaintiff, because you know, especially, I like to do things in small claims court. Small claims court is claims that are under $5,000, and it's generally Joe or his mother just doing the suing. So these are normal people just like you and me. And they were so mad at what happened, they went and asked the judge to give you some question. 5 minutes what, to finish? Okay, I get 5 minutes for them, but we'll go farther. Okay, thank you, what's your name, Marcelo? But it's normally normal people that go to small claims court. So they had to write up a complaint, bring it to the courthouse, pay the filing fee, show up in court, and hope that Jose shows up so they can give him the evil eye. But they had to go through a lot to get this judgment. It's not something that we all do every day. So they were really mad at that point. So if I can make Norman even madder now that it's been 5 years and he hasn't collected on it, Another question I'll ask him is, what have you done to try and collect so far? Well, I hired a lawyer and he said, yeah, okay, how's it working out for you? It's not. Norman, I will get you your money. And we'll work it out. Just like I can work it out with the defendant, it's all negotiations. Finding his pressure spot and finding Jose's pressure spot. So you can see how the pitch would be different if I already knew where the asset was. Because I can promise results tomorrow.
I have a question.
Sure.
You say you try to stay under 5,000 when you're trying to look for a judgment.
That's in small claims court because that's $5,000. County court is under $15,000.
When you're going to collect it or target someone, I guess, does the amount, like if there's interest, how would you, like, what would it be displayed, I guess? The amount that you see is already with the interest all added up? Or are you going to have to like calculate that yourself?
Okay, we're asking a question about the amount and when the interest applies and how am I going to make sure I get my interest. Right. Everything you do is going to be with the principal amount of the judgment, and then the interest and costs will be taxed on later.
So what if the court fees and maybe
attorney's fees, yeah.
It adds up to more than the 5,000 that you say we should stay on?
Then you collect 10,000. The first time I
represent ourselves?
Yeah, as long as you have an assignment. First garnishment I ever did was I was working at Basin and Kaplan, and you know the all tool rental over here on Pembroke Road, everything is orange.
Yeah.
We had their account, and what happened was some guy took a lawnmower and never brought it back. So they sued him for, so they had a big, anyways, the judgment ended up to be about $2,500, but it was about 9 or 10 years old when I got my hands on it. We garnished his bank account for over $6,000. So that lawnmower ended up costing that guy over $6,000. Wow. And he tried to go to the judge and say, but I'm not an attorney, so I didn't go to court, but when they went to court on the writ, the guy was trying to defend himself. And he told the judge, this is coming from the attorney, but it's only a lawnmower. I could buy a new one for $127. Judge said, I'm sorry. This is the law. Interest, attorney's fees, it's all collectible. They got you for all the money, and that's it. Over $6,000 for a $127 lawnmower.
That he used 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's just the way it goes, man. It's just the way. Somehow that's karma. You're right. Somehow that's karma. Oh, let's go back to Jason, I think. Okay, this is another guy that took my training. I talked him into doing another testimonial for this one. Jason is, I'm primarily a real estate investor. I like to buy association foreclosures. Jason was actually the first person to start doing that a lot. I took Richard Judgment training in 2007. I followed the training as much as I could. I don't know what that means. And found that I love passive income. You know Jason, right? So that you don't know. I found that I love passive income more than buying property. I currently receive over $2,200 in passive income. I need to refill the pipeline to where it was before, and I guess over $5,400 per month is what it was. Buy some judgments. But some judgments have paid off. What happened was he was getting $5,400 a month, but after they run to the end of the tail, they go ahead and pay off. He had to satisfy him, but now he's only get 22. But still,
That's a lot of money.
if you do 10 a week, it's easy. 10 a week, and you'll get 3 agreements. You'll be able to build up the pipeline in no time. In no time. It's just looking at public records. And you guys are the surplus people, you already know familiar with the public records. You already know what it looks like. Yeah. Now, I teach you how to find the ones you could collect on. So, anyways, it's a great training. If I don't say so myself, it is my life's work. So, what else am I going to say? I got a main event coming up. One very full day of comprehensive training. It's going to be on Saturday, June 24th, right here at the training center, 8:30 to 5. 8:30 is when you check in. We're going to start at 9. Lunch will be provided. I'm providing a deli lunch. Anybody that's ever had my deli lunches, they swear by them. They're pretty good. It's almost a good reason to come in and of itself. You guys have heard me say this before in other trainings I've done with you. I could never charge you enough money in order to balance what you have to pay me versus what you can make from this. You guys are going to make a hell of a lot more money than I could ever charge you. I charge $2,500 for my full training. $2,500 for Saturday plus all the support. This is what you get. A full day of final judgment training, additional 5 hours of pre-scheduled classroom training. In other words, after you take the class, You come in here, and I will put on the computer how to find the judgments. We'll actually pull them up, and if we spend all day doing it, that's fine. I'll teach Jose a little bit. I'll sharpen his skills. And for 5 hours, we'll sit in here, and we'll do not 5 hours straight if you don't want. We can just do an hour at a time. But my point is, I'm not going to cut you loose after we start. 30-minute business execution conference with me. In other words, I'll bring you to my conference table one-on-one with Jose, and we'll talk about how to get you started, what you have to do in order to do this business. And I would never talk about doing it individual. You have to incorporate, but we'll talk about that later. And get this, full advance funding. In other words, I'm going to fund all your garnishments and all your levies. Garnishments are $188 to issue, another $50 for service. I'll fund all that. Anytime you levy on something, if you're going to levy on a boat, for example, it's probably going to cost you about $6,000 deposit with the sheriff. I'll fund all your deposits so you don't ever have to be held up by not having money to move forward. Of course, the costs are recoverable first. So if I lay out $188 plus service on a garnishment, the first money that comes in goes to pay back the cost. I just want to make sure that it's fair. I just want to make it very apparent. You'll get an expert attorney advice via email. My lawyer doesn't like to talk on the phone. He will respond to emails, though, of any email questions. Of course, you copy me, and I'll see if I can't expedite things. Access to Richard's attorney for garnishment and levies at our special discounted pricing. I've been working with the same guy since 1999. I get the best rate possible. This guy has made hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars off of me, and he thanks me by giving me discounted rates on stuff that other attorneys would charge me through the wazoo. Same with you. You'll have access to my lawyer. What you also get, that includes you guys up there, special in-your-face case study training. I've done this for so long, I got great case studies. On Saturday, the 24th, I will teach you how to turn unsecured debt into debt with security on it. Don't hurt yourself. It's not okay. But I got case studies where I attached cars. I got great stories, and you'll learn from them because I give you all the documents, everything that you need. Samples of all necessary documents. Garnishment form, levy documents, instructions, and roadmaps. Every sheriff is different in every county, so you have to be ready for that. I'll teach you what to get ready for. I'll show you what to ask for when it's time to do a writ. Exclusive additional training on where to locate collectible judgments. I kind of gave that away just by looking up horse owners or airport owners or airline stuff. But I'll go deeper into this because if you can't find a list of people that own horses, I'll show you there's other ways to find people that have assets. And I can't tell you today. I really want to, but Jose killed me. Presentation assistance and copies of all my sales letters. Before I started doing this, I had sales letters that I sent out. And if you ever have a judgment and you're the plaintiff, you'll get them same sales letters from all the people around town. Yeah, I want to buy your judgment. They don't know nothing about your defendant. I want to buy your judgment. I want to buy you. Sure you do. You don't. But the point is, I have the letters if you want to use those. Presentation assistance. You see the assistance that Francisco and Jose and Jordan give you guys for trustee and for surplus? Same thing for judgment. You come in, and I'll get someone on the phone that'll help you in whatever you're making a presentation to an owner of a judgment or to a defendant where you already locked up their bank account. And it'll get to the point, believe it or not, that you're going to be as good as Jose is on the phone. And that's saying something. I also have access to credit reports. They are fair debt collection practices governed. In other words, I have to be sure that we have ownership of the judgment before I pull the credit report, because I don't want to get shut down. I've had this license since 1996 when I worked out of my garage at my house on Jackson Street. But as long as you have the proper documentation, we can pull credit reports. And that also gives us a little indication as to somebody else's financial wherewithal. We can see if they have a bank loan, if they have a house loan. The perfect world is when you pull up a credit report and you got 2 house loans. That's great because you know they can't have homestead on both.
Can we give Rich a round of
applause?
applause,
Thank you
please?
very much. Thank you.
I wanted to come up because I'm actually the one, Jordan, Francisco, and myself are the ones that are managing the training center. And it's important that I want you guys to understand what we're doing here. What we've taught in the past is leading up to what we're teaching now. What's coming after final judgments is exciting, and there's a lot more that we're going to bring to the table. But I wanted to point out Dwayne and Dimitri because they got in with us on the surplus. They paid for the surplus training, and we just handed them $10,000 in checks just yesterday. Am I right or wrong? Okay? That's the power of the carrot and the toothbrush that Rich brings to the table. So when he tells you that $2,500 for this program is not enough money, believe me, Francisco, Jordan, his daughter, and the core team, that we tell him you're giving this away. Because when you pay $2,500 and in 2 months you can collect $10,000, big round of applause. He's only 23 years old. Okay, folks? So I wanted to let the people on the webinar know that this really works, and that $2,500 to collect $10,000 for a 23-year-old in 2 months, you guys do the math, okay? He's giving it away. Now, it is work. This isn't get rich quick overnight. This isn't buy the program and put it on your shelf. It's not that. This takes work. And if you're willing to put the work in, we're willing to help you. That's why Rich has got the training center open on his dime. And it's open every day, Monday through Thursday, Fridays and Saturdays by appointment for you guys. But you guys need to use it. If you don't use it, then you're not going to get the benefit out. So take advantage of what's happening now and what's coming into the future. And that's really all I wanted to say. Thank you, all the web folks. I'll be handing out the forms. I look forward to everyone's email, and I look forward to helping everyone get started. Thank you.